One of the stories I remember from 1978, before we went to Asia, was that I was doing market research for an agricultural equipment company in Chicago. That was my assignment, was to have a job to earn money for the order. And I was assigned in 1978 to document the 25 villages of Maharashtra, along with Alan Beresford, who was a statistician for the government of England in London. And the idea was he was going to do a statistical analysis of the villages to see how much income they had generated from baseline data to the current time. And because I was a market researcher, they thought, well, I could provide the human interest stories to go along with that, and we would write up the documentation of these 25 villages. So this was over a month's time, and they told us we would have a translator and transportation would be provided. So when we got to Bombay, Alan from London and me from Chicago, of course there was no translator and there was no arranged transportation, so we had to fend for ourselves and go figure out how to do this. And so it was quite an adventure for us going to the 25 villages, and sometimes we had to go on our own. And I particularly remember a village outside of Sevagram, which was the ashram for Gandhi, which had a demonstration of toilets outdoors. It was a museum of toilets that were approved kind of toilets for everybody in the country to use sanitarily. But we were staying in, I think it was Warda, which was famous for growing oranges. And we didn't have enough money to have 2 rooms. So this is the first time I've ever told the story. We stayed in the same room in the hotel in Warda. No problem. When we got up to go out in the morning, we went to the restaurant to have breakfast. The restaurant wasn't open yet, but the waiters were all sleeping on the tables in the restaurant, which was a first for us. And then we went our separate ways to do documentation. We'd figured out when the project leaders would be having their meetings, and we would try to go to group sessions to interview each of the project leaders separately about their villages and how many liters of milk the buffaloes were giving when the project started versus how many liters of milk they were giving currently. And it turned out that Alan wasn't so excited about gathering the statistics, but he was more of a poet. So he wanted to collect the human interest stories. And he was the hired statistician of the government of England. So I did the statistical work while he gathered the human interest stories. And one of the memorable occasions for me was after we went to Maliwada and had a wonderful time in the renovated palace there. And then we were going back to Aurangabad, but there was no bus. We waited for hours on the road for a bus. No bus. So then a truck came loaded with rock, and it stopped for us, and we got in the back of the truck on top of the rock, went to Aurangabad, and then he let us out on the road, and the next vehicle that came along was a horse-drawn cart. So we got in the horse-drawn cart, which took us to the railway station, and while Alan was paying the driver of the cart money, I was trying to get out the back, but I was told always to wear long skirts in India. So my long skirt caught on the edge of the cart as I was trying to get out the back, and there I was with my skirt hanging up here, and I was head down and hands on the ground with my feet up in the air. And a crowd gathered looking at me. And finally one kind soul came up and pulled my skirt off of this where it was caught, and I flopped onto the ground and got up then and went off. So traveling, as you know, in India was a great adventure from village to village.